Started in the 60s, before there was a normal. The response of the authorities was to kind of kick me out of New York. I didn't come back until the 70s. We had a very big marijuana movement in the 70s, and a fairly consistent movement until there was a split in the late 80s and 90s into two different factions. So we didn't have such a big annual event. My fortunes are more or less tied to the annual parade.
Nice.
This is more marijuana themed. This is more Black Lives Matter. We got a lot of feedback when this came out in December. A lot of people said they wanted something more like this, so we, being agreeable, came up with something for everybody. My proudest accomplishment is, they always trash marijuana for the gateway effect. My proudest accomplishment was a non-cannabis related thing. We went to another banned substance, which turned out to be the cure for hard drugs. And the idea was to say, well, how can you blame hard drugs on pot if the government is withholding Ibogaine, which cures hard drugs with a single dose? But I don't think you want me to really go into Ibogaine so much here. I am prepared to talk tonight about medical marijuana and the rollout of the new law. Well, it's the Drug Policy Alliance is the key group that put the new law in. And they are very unhappy with it. It was gutted at the last minute. Cuomo wanted to get something through, but he was willing to sacrifice the access of patients to the actual plant. There's a lot of people who are unhappy with that, and what they really want is they want patients to be able to get the plant wherever they get it from, the market as it exists, which is of course a black market or a gray market, and to be able to be protected from being arrested. We had that under the previous district attorney, Morgenthau, at least for Manhattan, and more or less the 5 boroughs, the police would just honor an out-of-state card. Under the new law, out-of-state cards won't even be honored. You won't be able to have marijuana. And you'll have to buy an extract prepared by one of these 5 licensees that will not be covered by insurance. So it'll be expensive, it won't be covered by insurance, and it's a question of who exactly is going to be able to get it. So this, like they say about like Christie's law in New Jersey, it isn't good for much.
Right.
And so there's some questions whether this is going to really work. And what people are trying to do now is have a city council hearing to see if we can carve out some kind of exemption for New York City. And that's what I'm working on. We've been doing pickets every Monday of the district attorney's office to try to get the previous system reinstated. We're kind of ramping up to a city council hearing. Obviously, people are going to try to work within the confines of the new law that came down from the state. There are some people who are going to have the money to work through that. I'm more concerned about the patients, the ultimate consumers. This law here does not have anything for people who aren't seriously ill patients and for whom, the particular condition that they have is not covered under the law. The law is somewhat restrictive. I don't really know exactly who is covered because I think the state health commissioner has the ability to expand the coverage of the law to have new batches of seriously ill people. And I'm kind of like at this point I'm like out of it. I'm not like selling pot anymore. If I go into selling anything in the future, it'll be something different. We had a run. We took care of people. We provided people with medical marijuana at a very good price. We always had a kind of medical marijuana for $3 a gram. But, I kind of am of the Dennis Perron school, which is, he says that all use is medical. Of course, he loves Proposition 215. He authored it. It's interpreted very liberally in California. So practically anybody can get a card. Right. That is one way of doing it. Obviously, they don't want to do it that way here. So it really remains to be seen what's going to happen here. It's going to shake out in the next few months, the next year, to see what really goes on. I can't actually give much advice because I don't know what's going to happen. Right. I think we're going to see some more initiatives in the different states. There is a chance that the actual legalization of marijuana will occur in New York under the Kruger bill, but I would say that's probably a long shot. It would be nice, but the problem is everybody's waiting to see what happens when the presidential election happens, because all of this stuff really happened because the federal government laid off and they were not really continuing anywhere near the same level of enforcement that occurred under George W. Bush. If a president gets elected that's willing to follow the Obama policies, then things will be pretty good. We'll continue to see victories on the state level. If somebody, more the politics of, say, a Steve King from Iowa, or Charles Grassley, gets in, there will be a wholesale reversal of what's happened. It really depends. I couldn't predict what's going to happen because, frankly, I didn't really expect what happened in 2008 or after 2008. I did go to the Covington and Burling offices in January 2009 and have a medical marijuana demonstration. And what I said at the time was, it's obscene that somebody like Dick Cheney can get away with torture and medical marijuana providers are going to prison. Apparently that had an effect on Eric Holder because he became the Attorney General, and they did not go after anybody for mortgage fraud or torture, but he decided to go easy on marijuana people, which is great, and that's really what we wanted, so it worked. People pay attention to what happens right when they're being about to go up for, their confirmation hearing.
Right.
So it was perfect timing, You could still see it on YouTube. Drug Policy Alliance, Ethan Nadelman, is like the 800-pound gorilla in the room. And lobby your city council person to support some kind of health committee hearing. You can do that right now, and at that point there'll be an uproar. Good luck.